and welcome to King of Kodiak. I am Kodiak. This is episode lucky number 13.
Yeah.
And with me today in the first week of Challenge Month is Lady Squire Stillhet. How you doing?
Hi, yeah, good.
I know.
I forgot about that Squire thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, I promise. Let's not hesitate here. Stillhet, let's get right into the bare necessities. Sorry, sin. Where does the name come from?
It used to be Valdis Vrede, and I forget what Valdis meant, but that was like my constant D&D character name. And then I started getting really mocked by some of the players that I traveled with for not talking to people.
Okay.
But I was also very mean. So Vrede means wrath, and I changed my first name to Stillhet, which translates to silence. So it's like a wrathful silence kind of thing. Because if you ever see me, I'm not going to be the first person to approach you at an event.
Yeah, don't say. We'll get into that again later too, because it goes into your belting.
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing Amcard?
I've been playing since December of 2016.
Fantastic. And you jumped right into office, but that's here nor there. With anyone that's paid attention. Stillhet immediately was Prime Minister, correct?
Mm-hmm. Within the first few months, I jumped straight into Prime Minister and got the records in order the day before the audit was due.
Okay. So, you're a lady. You're also a squire. What's your favorite award that you've received?
I think it is my Griffin, which no one would expect me to have because I haven't fought since I got pregnant.
It's you're honorable. A Griffin isn't that shocking, but that's a great award.
I'm pretty sure it's because Royce knocked the crap out of me during the Crown Qualls tournament in Phoenix. He hit me, it hit me in the neck, glasses went one way, the shade attachment went another way, and I went a third way. He's like, you good? Yeah, let's keep fighting, let's go. Gotta prove I'm worth it.
Oh, come on. You're always worth it. Okay, so not fight much, but battle game some. What's your favorite battle game?
My favorite battle game is I would say it's the Temple of Komogu, which is kind of tooting my own horn. It's a game that I made for Jacob's reign. It was a World of Warcraft reign.
Cool. You want to give some idea of what that game is, maybe?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So the players at the park have dubbed it the Orb game because we're a Shire, so we normally only played with one orb, but I've written instructions that would incorporate 2 or more for different size parks. And the object is just to have the orb in your team's possession for the longest amount of the 15-minute game. But every minute that a player holds the orb, they get kind of like debuffs because it's based on a WoW battleground where you would get constant debuffs. Mm-hmm. So it'd be like after a minute, like you have to walk, you can't run. Like up to 5 minutes, it becomes like it would be like you're hit with a white weapon. So like even if your clothes get hit, like you're dead. Drop the orb, Go back to start.
All right, cool. And when we're playing these battle games, what is Stillhet's favorite class?
I'm hoping it'll be Druid when we start back up, but I was playing a lot of Monk and Archer when I was active on the field.
Well, Druid's the right answer, but you can have other answers, I guess. But that's awesome. Yeah. I'm hoping to get into some Monk when we start playing again, but obviously Druid is my favorite, so that's cool. Awesome.
Monk's a great starter class because I didn't want to learn any spells because it was supposed to be a passive, my boyfriend plays this, I guess I'll show up activity. And now here we are.
Here we are. A thing that should have been brought up right at the beginning, my apologies. current Kingdom GMR. So when we're talking about you just coming out to hang out with the boyfriend, and here we are, we're talking to Kingdom Officer at this point. So long haul, here we are.
It's still a passive thing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I won't see you every week or anything like that. Not at all.
Nah.
All right. So Kingdom of Kodiak tradition. We have 2 questions. I think you helped inspire some of them, or at least modify them a little bit. Baldur is supposed to give Sir Gleneth a toaster. Sir Anatole is apparently the toaster, and we don't want the smoke. What say you?
Well, in Silver City, we've had a fire burning since the 6th, so I say bring on the smoke. Let's just power through.
Okay, so our move here is we're going to just give Anatole to Sir Glenelf, and Sir Glenelf is going to have to deal with the smoke. That's the deal. All right, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. And the last general question, near and dear to my heart, near and dear to your heart as well. What's your thoughts on bears?
I'm pro bear. Stillhet is a werebear, so very, very dear and dear to my heart.
Awesome. The expansion of that question for this week, of course, is what about wolves and badgers and foxes and the platypus?
Whew, that's a lot. Okay. I believe wolves are every furry's first persona. It's a very leap start way into that fandom. I believe foxes are the weeb version of wolves.
Okay.
And platypi don't exist.
Okay.
They exist.
Okay. Well, there's one that you missed, and your belt brother is going to be a little upset. But what about the badger?
I haven't met my belt brother, so I don't have a formed opinion yet. But I hear good things.
Good things.
Good things.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So when putting these questions together and organizing them for you, I found 3 really great categories.
Okay.
There is your park, Cloud's Edge. There is your current position in Amcard, and then there's your growth moving forward. Of course, there's also the goofy questions at the end, but it seems like it was a really easy way to break them down. So why don't we get into the Cloud's Edge stuff first? Okay? So Kron asks, can a cloud still cut without an edge?
I believe a cloud would have to resort to blood force trauma, if not with edge.
Okay. So we're talking like a mallet at that point.
Yeah.
All right. The Cloud's Edge mallet. I like it.
We do have I can't remember the name of it, but the hammer that was awarded during Edelspeth's second reign. Cloud's Edge won that.
The M-Hogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So now Kron wants to know about the battle game. You already kind of discussed that a little bit about the prestiged battle game that you made with the orb and the time limits. It's something we should probably look at kingdom wide, because that sounds like a very interesting game with some debuff in it. Was there any more to it than that, or is that about it?
I can pull that up for you real quick. I did not think that was...
it's fine. We can just put that in at the end. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the moments or things about Cloud's Edge for you specifically is you have been somewhat of a reviver of this park. Cloud's Edge has had dipping numbers, up numbers, and for anyone who's listening that is paying attention currently, Cloud's Edge is actually coming up for an all thing for barony status. So that, I guess, begs the question of how did you maintain or revive a park so many times and then get it to a point where there's a promotion involved?
That's the point. I have to admit that it is not a passive interest anymore, and it just takes a lot of dedication. And I kind of talked about it. I gave a Discord chat on growing a Shire to barony, even though we haven't officially reached that goal. Just putting up with a lot of interpersonal stuff, and I mean, it's just keeping up with paperwork, being nice to people, having incentives.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Don't forget. Yeah. Lord Tajima, Kron, kind of fixtures at the park, but without those three, like the park probably goes away, at least fades for a minute. It may have to be completely reincarnated if it wasn't for your efforts. So that's well, at least you were willing to admit it, you know.
I fear for the park if any of the core members decide to relocate.
Right.
But it's the Cloud Edge tradition. They used to be a huge, huge park. I've heard these legendary stories back from when Dom was local to our park.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grand Duchess Kiri from the Burning Lands used to be a Cloud's Edger. They used to have these huge numbers, and just eventually it dwindled down to the 3 people it was 5 years ago.
Right. But I mean, it's an opportunity now to take the younger players that want to be in leadership and give them that experience, so that if the veteran players do move away, the park can exist without having to maintain veterans, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But awesome. I mean, thank you so much for maintaining Cloud's Edge and growing Cloud's Edge and rebuilding Cloud's Edge. And then also finding time to reach out to Kingdom Office, even with, you know, a park at promotional state. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
So the last question from Cloud's Edge is still a question from Kron, and he wants to know about your most prestigious event you've hosted.
I would say the most prestigious event is also what I consider one of my bigger failures. Not failure, but my bigger learning opportunity was when we hosted, it was that same reign that we earned the special weapon. It was Edelspeth's 7 rings reign. We hosted the mid-reign here. Mm-hmm. My park put in the bid knowing that I wasn't going to be, trying not to be super, super involved because I was taking my first role as Kingdom Regent at the time.
Uh-huh.
That fell apart because I was really proud and I didn't want to ask for help once it came to the point where it was going to be on me.
Right.
And but I think it turned out okay.
No, it did. Anyone that's ever had your curry can attest to the fact that the curry alone could save anything. So yeah. I still have some in my fridge. Viewers, be jealous. And I do hear a slight rumor that Cloud's Edge might be experiencing a possible mid-reign event or end reign here coming shortly soon. Tajima, where are you?
Yeah, I hear that Tajima suggested we host at the City of Rocks.
I've heard that could be a possibility. Again, Tajima, where are you? We'll talk.
City of Rocks was actually the first place that I met people from Las Cruces. It was before my first gathering of the Crowns, and I didn't know who anyone was, so I had my normal level anxiety, but then Sir Randall approached and started a conversation about my Alice in Wonderland sleeve, and I was like, oh, it's just a nerd guy, it's fine. And then we left, and he was like, yeah, you were talking to the Queen's husband like for an hour? I was like, oh, does that mean something?
I think it's a good way in, because you if you don't set the expectations beforehand, you don't end up making a fool of yourself like I did at my first event when I got to meet Goldcrest and literally squeed in front of my friends. So
Jacob says, yeah, let's do it in the chat.
Okay. Well, you know, there's a Dragonspine Monarchy page where that's actually been put up. So Lord Tajima, by all means. But breaking news, Kingdom of Kodiak fans, it sounds like Cloud's Edge is going to host our mid-reign. So, you know, no pressure.
Don't expect curry. I feel like I'll still end up cooking, so I'm taking requests on the cheaper set.
Well, and additionally, you're going to have your monarchy to help you because, you know, it is a kingdom event. So, yeah. So don't say no. Take our help. All right. So let's get to you. Let's get to you as a player currently. Okay. And when I say currently, there's a little bit of sway because there is previous, like Tajima asking, what would be your most memorable AmpGuard event or AmpGuard day?
That's really hard because I have really, really bad memory. I think I'll go with my first Gathering of the Crowns, which is currently my only Gathering of the Crowns. But it was still that time. It was that passive, I'm just going to support Tajima. Because I don't know, I love this nerd. Let's take part in his activities. And then that's the trip that AmpGuard clicked in my head, because you go from this park of 3-4 people a week to what I was told was a 200-person event. It's not. It's a lot more than that. Don't let anyone lie to you to prepare for 200. But it clicked, and I met all these people, and I was able to see what crafts are like across the board. It just, AmpGuard became a real thing in my head at that moment.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, it's upwards of 600 people. I think I remembered at our first one, the gate numbers came in at 675 or something like that. Which is, it's amazing that you can get that many people together that want to do one thing when it's kind of a niche activity. But then you remember that a lot of these people have been doing it for so long and have a lot of passion, and it's so awesome that that is your most memorable because it just means there's so much more that you can get out of it. You know, there's so many more. I know we've talked about the first time that you and I will both be at that event together.
Yes.
You know, which will be amazing, and we'll have a great time.
Beck says that year was about 525.
Okay, thank you, Bex. So, I mean, under what it was 2 years ago, still in the 500s. That's
a lot more than 200.
A lot more people, but you're here, which means you made it out the other side. So we're all happy for that, right? Okay.
I guess.
You know, this Tajima guy keeps coming up in these questions, and he's interested in knowing how much craft foam is too much craft foam when making a sword.
When making a sword, oh, sorry. If you don't have enough craft foam left over for the pommel, you've used too much.
I would think that would be the right answer. As long as you have enough to make a pommel at the end, you can have an infinite number of craft foam. That's a great answer. You know
I'd say make the whole sword out of craft foam as long as you can make the pommel.
Well, don't get ridiculous. All of it? That's crazy.
80%.
Okay. I'm okay with 80%. So Tajima, there you go. 80% of your sword can be made of craft foam, and it's still under the barrier of enough. There you go. Your friend from Cloud's Edge, Sam, has asked, how did you get into making scrolls? Because for anyone who's been paying attention, Stillhet has made some scrolls specifically for me and for others in the kingdom for awards.
I've made 2.
Well, that's more than one. So officially, how did you get into making scrolls?
The official answer is Edelspeth reached out to me towards the end of his labyrinth reign and said, hey, do you want to make a scroll? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that was that. I made my first scroll, and it, I didn't take any photos of it, but it had the 2 knockers from Labyrinth, the like guy with it through his ears and through his mouth. And then it was a hand holding up a fushigi ball, and inside the fushigi ball, it had the text.
Awesome. So when you're doing this whole process for your first ever one, you've just been asked, you've never done it before. Like, how do you get started with that? How does that become?
Well, first you have a really solid panic attack and go, why did I say yes? And then I'm part of a Facebook group that's the AmpGuard Guild Scribes Guild.
Mhm.
And they had a lot of like, this is how you word it, and a lot of scribes will post their work there, so you can kind of look and see like, okay, how do they set it up. Through that group, I just made a friend. She made Sir Randall's most recent Knighting Scroll. She
Okay.
does amazing work, and she answers like any question I ever bring to her. Like 2 a.m. Like, hey, can I ask you a question? How does this wording sound? And she's like, yeah, you're doing great. I'm like, okay, thank you. Just figuring out how things are placed, and then I don't know how I would describe how the illumination comes to be. It's just kind of looking at something and being like, that's good. I don't.
That's awesome. I mean, it's to see your work. I've seen both. I obviously Baldur's most recent award you did for me as a project, and it looks amazing. You always turn in great work.
Yeah, so you
It's
know
just
how frequently I need to like be told I'm doing okay.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
the financial stuff aside, as long as you're willing to tell her she's doing a great job, that's all she needs. You know, she just keeps going forward, which is amazing. Super awesome. We finally get to a question from Morgan. Who's your favorite amp guarder, and why is it Morgan?
Well, I would say it's Morgan because every year that I attend Maze, I have gone to Genghis Grill, and Morgan's always at the party, and he always pays for my food.
So that's why he's your favorite amp guarder.
Yeah, food is a big, that's a win.
Yeah.
And it's Genghis Grill.
Are we going to tell the other side of that story where when Morgan asks about you being your first time in Kingdom Office? Because we can skip right to that question. Let's talk about you being in Kingdom Office currently. Is this your first time?
No, it's not. While it was a forgettable role, I did step in as regent a few reigns ago, and I actually stood next to Morgan after going to dinner at Genghis Grill with him and a few other people. And we stood next to each other for the entirety of Ruth's knighting. But I don't know, I had green hair at the time, so.
Yeah, that's fair. Morgan, I mean, I'm not saying you had to pay attention, but.
He did talk to me during.
He did. So. Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what he does, Morgan does ask then about your fighting. Okay. You haven't got to do a lot of it because, you know, you came into the game and then there was a baby involved and, you know, things get a little complicated at that point. But when you are fighting, what's your favorite weapon combination?
My favorite weapon combination is I was working really hard on my flow. But I have a huge interest in learning certain sword and board. I just don't know how to place the shield. So I'm just a turtle, really, when I fight with sword and board.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of amp guarders that are willing to show you, you know, Morgan, who's also a sword and boarder, probably, you know, would be willing to do such.
I fought him in sword and board, and yeah, he kicked my butt.
He does that to a lot of people. That's usually how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Florentine, but you're working on sword and board is what we're getting for the answer. Okay. Last question from Morgan. Inside of your current amp guard positions, is your artistic side naturally induced? Have you always been kind of an artistic person, or?
That's kind of cluing into my tragic backstory. I didn't have friends, so I drew a lot. I drew and I wrote and I watched cartoons and played video games. So I got a lot of inspiration from those. And yeah, so I kind of developed that kind of eye for aesthetic early.
Cool. I mean, it's, again, for anyone who's ever watched any of your artwork go anywhere, it's amazing. You do really great work. Well, I mean, you don't get to judge it because an artist is never kind to themselves. But yeah, okay. So that's current Stillhet. Let's talk about Stillhet going forward and from this moment moving forward. Morgan wants to know, well, Morgan, you got your answer. No, this isn't her first time as Kingdom Office. You were there. Kingdom Regent, she stood for Dame Annabelle's knighting as the Kingdom Regent. And now she's our Kingdom GMR, and she's doing a fantastic job. Well, I mean, you're in the RP chat, and you're helping me do that, so that's a great job.
I made the test. Job's done.
Right. But going into your natural artistic abilities, let's talk about what Sam asked. If you had an abundance of resource and could access any kind of crafting material you wanted, what would the project be?
That's a really, really, really good question. I think something that the community would enjoy would be like a hands-on chainmail. I know a lot of people are curious about chainmail, and I mean, in my opinion, it's not hard. It's just having the time and the money to get the resources and sit down and figure it out. So like being able to like give people the pliers and the jump rings and be like, okay, we're gonna make a shirt, or like that's big. So like we're gonna make a coif or something. We're gonna learn.
Okay, so you're not even just talking about you having an opportunity for an art project. You're talking about teaching an art project.
I'm so sorry. Did I mishear you?
No, that's fine. You answer the question, but you give away your natural inheritance to be a leader, which is something that I think people miss sometimes, that you are inherently a leader. You are someone who takes up action and whatnot. So it's awesome that you were like, well, this is the thing I'd want to do, but I'd want to make sure that other people were doing it too. It's a great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, not a problem. This Tajima guy comes back. He wants to know another question. Yeah, I know, he's everywhere. It seems like you guys know each other.
Following me? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you let him in the car, he's going to follow you. So
heck.
So his question, and I think it leads into the next couple of questions, is where do you see yourself in 5 years in Amtgard?
In 5 years, I'll be approaching 10 years in the game. I would like to be further along in my Dragon Awards. I'm currently sitting at a 4, but I've been called out by both the current king and my knight that's because I don't enter into competitions. I stay to judge them. But like, if judges are needed, like, other people should get awards.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, your current king is right, and he's also a handsome guy, so you should listen to him.
I'm pretty sure he made it a royal decree. I have to enter this ring.
Yeah, absolutely. He did. I mean, I talk to him regularly, and I'm fairly sure it was a royal decree, and it was actually stamped as a royal decree too. So if you violate that, you're violating all of the custom and traditions of Dragonspine. So no pressure.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'll move to El Paso. It's fine.
No, you're moving to Cruces.
No, Cloud's Edge. Anyway, don't give away my secrets. No, I want to be further along. If I haven't pushed myself to reach a masterhood level in art, but with completing the dragons, I want to be further along in the other branches of Serpent. Because I think I want to be like super well-rounded if I'm ever given the like, I want to put this to the Circle of Knights, this person. I also want to have been queen. That's a big goal for the next, I think I talked to you about in the next like year, if not in 3 months, declare.
Well, I mean, if you do it in 3 months, you're going to run against me, and that'll be a brutal fight.
Well, as I mentioned earlier with the whole mid-reign and Cloud's Edge, that was the source of Nodiak for Kodiak.
Oh, that won't die, will it? That's fine. Thank you, Black Lavish. Appreciate it. It would be great to see you run for office for queen. And within 5 years, absolutely, there should be no reason you don't do it. But you did mention something that ties into the next question. You talked about approaching the idea of at some point being brought before the COK or Circle of Knights. And this Tajima guy keeps asking questions, and this question was, what made you pursue the serpent belt? But I do want to ask before that, because it's an interesting approach to it. Were you always pursuing a belt and then found out that it was serpent? Or did you, when you decided that you were pursuing a belt, you knew it was serpent?
I went in deciding that these nerds at Cloud's Edge needed help, like looking better.
Mhm.
And then I was later informed you could get knighthood for that. And that was another one of those, like, yeah, okay. And then meeting Serpent Knights at the Gathering of the Clans. It's not so much I'm pursuing the belt so much as it is I'm just pursuing bettering myself, bettering my own skills. And if that leads to knighthood, so be it. I didn't know how to sew until I joined Amgard.
Tell me about it, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know how to sew, and I've turned in projects with sewing connected to it. I mean, I am a winner of a Cronqualls.
I heard great things about your tabards.
Yeah. Kid, if you ever hear this, bud, we do need to see those scores at some point. But no, why I ask that is because I think it's interesting, especially talking to Tajima about knighthood, because he has an opinion and it's strong, and it's one of those, like, he already has chosen a path and wants to move forward. So I was interested to see if, living in the same household, if by osmosis, your thought process was the same.
Well, I know he has sword kind of in his sights eventually, kind of like just always been in his head to do sword, and I like everything but sword. Because I'm not coordinated, and it's not that I'm afraid of fighting again, it's that I'm embarrassed of how much worse I'll be when I finally fight again. So I just won't. I just don't.
Amgard is starting over, essentially, so don't feel too bad about it. And also, eventually, you're going to have to spar with me, so,
I think I'm going to stay in Cloud's Edge.
Okay.
Lost Cruise's trip's canceled.
Oh. Well, breaking news on Kingdom of Kodiak, folks. Lost Cruise's trip canceled. Oh, well. Okay. So we were talking about knight's belts here for a moment, and good talk and whatnot, but there's also a different kind of belt that you have, and that's a Squire's belt. And your belt brother wants to know, how does it feel to be part of the best belt line?
Well, it is no super belt line of super awesomeness, which was my previous belt line.
Okay.
That was the tree that trickled down from Sir Kamal of the Golden Plains. But I've heard good things about people in this belt line. I hear that our king is a big fan of Goldcrest. So I'll just have to continue meeting people from this belt line. It's a lot smaller than my last one. Like, we had a whole Facebook group. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a new belt. Well, it's not a new belt line, but the branch that you specifically come off of is one of our newest knights. So, Damon Obali is, in her first year of knighthood at this point. So, but yeah, you also get an awesome opportunity to meet some of your belt mates here shortly. I think maybe we'll see.
they come to Cloud's Edge because I don't go to Dragonspine.
Oh no, shots. Okay, awesome. All right, so that gets us through current and the growth of Stillhet.
Okay.
The only thing we have left is the goofy questions.
Okay.
Are you prepared?
I hope.
Okay. Why does Cloud's Edge have so many edged lords?
When you have one of the younger kids and then like the parents will pay attention to them and they'll get really into like vaping and they're like hardcore weebs. That's what Cloud's Edge is. I think we're one of the newer parks. Maybe. I don't know history well. That would be a great question for Randall to answer. He knows all the facts. But, you know, Cloud's Edge, real close to Mother Park of Dragonstein, but they're kind of, yeah, just people in general are edgelords in Silver City.
Okay. All right. And then who would win in a fight? All of the rookie players of Cloud's Edge, not Cloud's Edge. There's a crowd in Cloud's Edge. That's what I meant to say. All of the rookies or one of the edgelords.
That depends on the criteria for the edgelords. If we are going just off of the players that are nobles, which the veterans players, we've almost reached everyone as a lord. If they have to be a noble, definitely the rookies. They would swarm, but if we're just saying any of the edgelord veterans, the fluff could take on a whole swarm of rookies.
Fantastic. Okay, so Morgan's back, and he has a question about squirrels. Okay. If squirrels ruled the world, would you vote for squeakers or squeakins?
Is there a third party option?
Oof, no, it looks like this is bipartisan.
Okay. I'm leaning a little bit towards McSqueakin's policies.
Okay. That's what I hear. I mean, Squeakers had some of that stuff back in college that was kind of inappropriate. But yeah, Squeakins for the win, I think, is the right answer.
Yeah, I've seen Squeaker's Twitter page. Not that great. Little nuts.
All right. The Tajima guy is back again and is asking about why he wasn't recipient of Sonic.
He didn't go fast enough.
Okay. I mean, Tajima, much like answering to hosting Midrange for our kingdom, you're not going fast enough. Like, pick up the pace a little bit here, bud.
I think he's ghosting us.
He might be ghosting us, which is weird because you're married to him. So, might be a problem. And the final question, which I think is serious, but it comes in as a goofy one. Have you ever eaten a snail?
No, but I accidentally ordered a bowl of crickets once.
Yeah? How was that?
Crunchy. Yeah. I learned to really pay attention to the kanji when you're looking at the menu.
Fantastic. Snail's actually not that bad. It's really good with garlic and butter. Super good. We'll try it. Don't worry. We'll try it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we will. And it's on my list now.
Is that on the GOTC plan?
Well, now that you mention it, yeah, we could do that at GOTC. That we'll do like a little initiation with some snails.
Initiation.
Yeah, it'll be great. All right, Lady Stillhet, that is all of my questions. But I did promise you before we got live that if there was any player that you wanted to challenge, with the understanding that maybe they'll say no, but you're really hoping to hear from them, you're hoping they come on this great show with Kingdom of Kodiak, who would you want to challenge?
You asked me that before we started, and I've kind of been sitting on it for the last 40 minutes. I think it would be really great to challenge Sir Randall to come on and maybe answer questions about his rocks that he carves, or like, he knows a lot about the history. I've seen him just introduce himself after a park day and be like, I'm Sir Randall. This is when Amker was founded. This is how old our kingdom is. And I'm like, that's a lot of information. You just know that?
It's an excellent choice, Sir Randall. It has been put out there. Not saying you have to say yes. There is some interest from Lady Stillhet. Obviously, Sir Randall, I would enjoy talking to you one-on-one in front of the millions and millions of Kingdom of Kodiak fans. So, let's just keep that out there. But again, thank you so much for showing up today and doing this. It's always fun when we get a chance to talk. Super great times. Yeah. For the kingdom at large, the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking to Gideon Stormcaller and Xander the Reaper at one of these 2 weeks they'll be coming in. I'll let you guys know at the beginning of next week. It sounds like we're going to hear some posts going up about a bid for mid-rain, and that bid probably being accepted almost immediately from a certain edged park, Tajima. Also, next week there will be an all thing that will be presented. It doesn't have, obviously won't be that week, but there will be 3 things on the docket. We'll be talking about 2 parks promotional statuses and the budget for AIBOD to pay our lawyers. I know that that's a hot button issue, but we've got to get that addressed. So until that goes up and until next week, I've been Kodiak, and this has been Kingdom of Kodiak. Thank you and goodbye.